website and growing outrage over the hundreds of thousands of people whose policies are being canceled. In fact, healthcare.gov was down again for repairs overnight for at least 12 hours. But are these just bumps in the road or signs of fundamental problems? We brought in two experts to debate what's really going on. James Capretta is a healthcare expert with the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Dr. Emanuel is one of the architects of Obamacare and vice provost at the University of Pennsylvania. And gentlemen, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's start with that pledge from the president when he was trying to sell Obamacare. Here it is.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period. No one will take it away.
But it turns out millions of Americans are not able to keep their plans. They're losing them. Florida Blue has canceled 300,000 people. In California, 280,000 policies have been canceled. In Oregon, 150,000. Mr. Capretta, the White House now says, its explanation is, well, that pledge only counted until the health care law was signed in March of 2010, only for policies that were in effect before then. And anyway, these policies are lousy.
Yeah, well, there's two things to it. There was no extenuating circumstances when he said you can keep your plan. He didn't add a clause. It was period. In fact, he said clearly you can keep your plan. He said it once. He said it 1,000 times. This wasn't a minor pledge. It was central to passing the law. It's sort of like President Bush saying no new taxes, the first President Bush saying no new taxes back in 1990, 1988. He broke that pledge, and at least he had the honesty to tell everybody he was breaking the pledge. The president actually pledged this and has never really admitted he was going to break it. There's millions of people who are going to lose it, at least 15 million, including people in the small business community. They're talking about the individual market now. Many small business people are going to lose their plans, too.
All right, we're going to get to that, but let's stay with the idea of the pledge, because Dr. Emanuel, the Wall Street Journal reported this weekend that you, in fact, were part of a debate inside the White House at the time about whether or not this claim, you can keep your plan, you can keep your doctor, was misleading. This week, let me just ask the question. It'll be a question mark, and then you can answer whether it was misleading. On Megyn Kelly's show this week, you blame the insurance companies. Here it is.
If an insurance company decides it's changing how it's going to structure its plan, that's not the law doing it. That's the insurance company deciding for business reasons.
Yeah. But, doctor, the Obamacare law demands that the insurance companies change their plans.
Let's get to what happens in the individual market. First of all, I want to say the president takes very seriously, and this he said over when I was working for him, let's go back to what I said and make sure we're consistent with it. When we passed the law, we said any plan that existed before the date the law was passed would be grandfathered in unless lots of changes were made. Now, you know, we have to imagine Obamacare not against a blank slate, but against what insurance companies regularly do. Against what the insurance companies...
I have to ask you, does Obamacare mandate that insurance companies change their plans to meet certain standards?
Yes, it brings it up. But look, we grandfathered in all the pre-existing plans. If you want to change plans or you want to buy a new car, you have to meet safety standards. That was the rule.
Wait, but wait a minute. Your grandfathering is so narrow. For instance,
it's not so narrow.
Let me give you an example. For instance, if an insurance company changes the copay by more than $5 over the course of the 3 years since 2010, it's no longer grandfathered in.
That's usually a 25% change. That's a big change. You have
a $5 change in the copay. Now it's not grandfathered.
You have to ask the question, how many planks do you change in a boat before it's a different boat? And that's the same thing here. We had a plan. We argued about it. We tried to come up with...
You didn't tell the American people.
We tried to come up with a... No, we did. We grandfathered in the plans, and we tried to come up with a...
You said, now, if this plan is in effect until March of 2010, you can keep it.
That's what it says. It says
Mr. Capretta?
Grandfathered plans were allowed, and if they changed it
I didn't
too
hear
much,
the president mention the word grandfather in those pledges.
That's how we fulfilled his pledge. He made that pledge before.
People who knew the law as it was being written knew the president wasn't telling the truth. The grandfather provision written into the law itself was too narrow, and frankly, they wrote a regulation intentionally trying to get people out of the individual market.
Look,
they want the people to go into the exchanges because there's a lot of people in the individual market. The whole point of the exchanges is to close down the individual insurance market over time.
The insurance company,
they wanted to move millions of people into the
Insurance companies don't like the individual market as it's constructed. They see the future. That individual market is going away. They don't want to invest in it.
But that's not what the president said.
Let me finish.
The president said you could keep your plan.
No, the insurance companies are making that choice, not the president. The law does not require
Maybe I'll stop calling you gentlemen because I'm not sure. This raises a bigger question, which is who gets to decide? You say, well, we improved the policies, right, with the Obamacare coverage mandates. Who gets to decide what's a good policy or not? Our colleague John Roberts did a story, about a woman named Betsy Tatter who is losing her policy. Let's take a quick look at that.
I was very happy with my plan. But then I got the letter saying that it was no longer available and I would need to choose a new one.
To replace the coverage she has, her premiums would go up from $454 a month to $871. Her options on the Obamacare website weren't any better.
The deductible with that plan is $12,700. I can't afford a deductible of $12,700.
Dr. Emanuel, simple question. Why does Betsy Tatter need you or President Obama telling her what insurance she needs?
For two reasons. First of all, if she goes in and that insurance doesn't cover enough, and which is typically what happens with these very low-cost plans, and she gets sick and it exceeds, typically we who are insured pay the difference. That's called cost shifting.
She likes her plan.
But we're cost shifting. The second thing is, just as we have safety standards for cars, you can't buy a car without a seatbelt, you can't buy a car without a airbag. You can drive them. We're not going to take you off the road. But if you're going to buy a new car, you have to have those safety
features. Okay, but let me ask you. All right,
it's the same thing with Obamacare.
Wait.
You cannot have these
I agree with you about the. I'll agree with you about the airbags, and I'll agree with you the safety belts. She is a woman who has a 24-year-old son. She's not going to have any more children. Obamacare includes maternity services, pediatric services, substance abuse services. That's not the airbag.
It is the airbag.
Not for her, it isn't. She's not going to need a maternity services.
We all share in the cost so that everyone can get it. She will need another high-cost service, like cancer care, or like a stroke care, God forbid, or her kid might get hit by a car, or her kid might father a baby. We have to make sure that people are covered for those things.
Whether they want to be covered for the things or not.
If they don't want to be covered and they don't end up and they're uninsured or they have very low insurance, they transfer those costs to the rest of us. That's the whole point of part of Obamacare, to eliminate this cost shifting, so people assume individual responsibility. When you have a low cost,
I get your point.
When you have a low cost plan, you're shifting costs to everyone else.
There's lots of insurance plans out there today that are covering hospitalization, doctor services, drugs. They're in the individual market. They're regulated by the states. They don't need the federal government telling them what they need to get. Many people
remember the individual.
Let him finish, please.
Remember,
they have high deductible plans. They're perfectly happy with. You're going to hear stories all over the country of people who got just perfectly fine coverage today. They're going to lose it. That's why they're bad.
Wait a second. The individual market before Obamacare, insurance companies could throw you off when you got a disease. Insurance companies
could wrap up
about here. Yes, that's the comparison. That is the comparison.
We're talking about coverage.
Dr. Emanuel, please.
Let me finish.
No, I asked him a question. Let him finish.
What's the individual market before the insurance companies?
Mr. Capretta, don't talk while he's interrupting. Mr. Capretta.